Hello, my name is Arlyn Stokes, and I am the Director of International Business for India's Department of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know you guys are sitting through a variety of different country presentations and learning where you should be investing. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm so excited to have you here today, and I can't wait for you guys to learn all about India and why you should be doing business with India. So thanks again for joining me. I'd like to start off with saying namaste, which is the Hindi word for hello or welcome, or it's a greeting that's commonly used in India. I wanted to give you a little bit of information on India as a whole, just a little bit of background for you. So our labor force is about 1.2 billion people. We have the second most populous country in the world. Our geography here in India is the seventh largest country by area. We have 3.3 million square kilometers. To our north is the Himalayas and Nepal and China. To the south of us, we have the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. So we have a huge advantage by having both land and sea at our disposal. The government of India is a democracy, very similar to the United States. We have 3 branches and 6 major political parties. Our culture is very diverse here in India. We have over 22 languages. There's still a hierarchy or a caste system that is present in India. As far as religions, we have the most religions, probably the most diversity in anywhere in the world. We honor things like Hindu, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and many more religions are honored here in India. So as you can see, there's just a variety of everything from religions to cultures and languages that make up this wonderful country that I call home of India. Why should you do business with India? So you're sitting here and you obviously have money to spend and you're looking to invest across the world and you're hearing from other nations like Brazil and Mexico. And I want you to know that India is a fabulous place for you to be spending your money. And why should you be spending it here? Well, some terms that come to mind for us that we talk about here at the Department of Commerce for India are things like growth and stability, skilled, competitive, and robust. And you'll learn that throughout my presentation, just how important these words are to India. So what is it about India? What about this growth that we see? Well, India has seen unprecedented growth in the world as far as output and trade and exports. The World Bank, in fact, has stated that India is expected to be the fastest growing major economy all the way through 2050. So it's great to see that kind of growth here in India. We do have the 11th largest gross domestic product, or GDP, in the world. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, stated that India's economy is currently worth about $1.758 trillion. If you want to compare that to the United States, they have about 4.6 trillion. So you can see that India is well on its way to surpassing some of those more stable economies like the United States. The GDP in India is growing at an unprecedented rate of about 6.9% year over year. We're forecasting for next year, 2012 to 2013, about 7.6% growth, which is wonderful to see. Our deficit is less than 2.5% of our GDP, and that's really helping us attract all this international business. So India is officially open for business, and we look forward to working with companies like you. And I'd like to walk you through a few things that would make you interested in doing some business here. So let's get started with a SWOT analysis for India. So some of our strengths that I've mentioned a little bit, we do have a highly skilled workforce. They speak English. They can be acquired for a low amount of money, low wages here. This growing middle young class that we have is a huge potential market. No matter what product or service you might be selling, that middle class would be an excellent source of buyers for you. India has a variety of natural resources, which I'll get to in a little bit. Everything from oil to things like fisheries and forestry. So a wonderful, wonderful, vast variety of natural resources are offered here in India. And diversified industrial base. So India is known from everything from Bollywood and the filmmaking industry all the way to really in-depth biopharmaceutical offerings here in India. Now, there are some weaknesses associated with doing business in India, and you're probably familiar with most of these. There are a few infrastructural concerns. So our infrastructure with our roads and our power grids, our ports, our railways, there are a variety of issues that come along with this weak infrastructure, and I will walk you through those and let you know how India is facing them. As far as a low investment in R&D, recently a little lack of research and development has occurred here in India. Definitely looking to change that in the years to come. Low literacy levels, poverty and corruption, all those things kind of coupled with the infrastructure really does tend to have some high transactional costs of doing business here in India. But there are some opportunities and some bright spots here for India. This skilled manpower that I talked about, the English speaking, highly skilled, low costing labor force is a huge opportunity for companies like yourself to come and work with this middle class. Again, I mentioned all of these variety of industries that we have. So if you're in the agriculture industry or the engineering or construction or manufacturing, you definitely want to look at somewhere like India to invest your next storefront or perhaps your next partnership, definitely here in India. And then anything from perhaps your global back office, whether it's someone who's going to answer your call center or someone that's going to do your financial accounting or your payroll services. There's a variety of those types of opportunities for you to look at here in India. There are also a few threats that we want to talk about. The socioeconomic challenges with the poverty and a little bit of that low literacy levels that we talked about is definitely a threat to any business that would be doing some, foreign investment here in India. There is a little bit of currency risk, which I'll get to. This summer, we did have a little bit of issues with our rupee currency, but things have definitely stabilized off there, and I will talk about that in a moment. Some trade deficits. That we have a pretty high trade deficit with other countries like China, and that's definitely a threat for any other industry that or any other company that might be coming here into India. And then there's also some lower cost of competition in the Southeast Asian region. Things like countries like Bangladesh, for example, might have more affordable labor for countries to go to. But I think when you put this whole SWOT analysis into perspective, you'll understand that the strengths and the opportunities here in India really do outweigh some of the weaknesses and the threats. Let's jump right in. There are challenges of doing business with India, and I definitely want to get those out of the way in the beginning because India is truly overcoming some of these challenges, and you'll understand that we are working very hard to attract investment from companies like yourself. So let's talk about the infrastructure problem I mentioned. We have poor roads, power is a major concern to get through these different locations. And, it truly is a barrier to entry. It's a risk for countries all over the world, but in particular for India. And companies like yourself need to definitely be aware of them. Our solution is that, we put a cabinet secretary in place, and they're definitely addressing this bottleneck of this infrastructure issue. It is one of our major concerns. The entire government of India is definitely focused on this and definitely wants to work to improve that. We're working to manage our power grid by next year. An entire overhaul on our power sector is definitely going on right now, and it's definitely something that you guys will be interested in learning more about. It's how you can make your businesses powered quicker and better, faster, and stronger. And then also want to talk about the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. So this is a huge undertaking that we're working to connect 24 cities from basically the northern Delhi parts of India all the way down to the south to Mumbai. We're working into a couple of major phases, and by 2019, we should hope to connect the first couple of cities on that entire grid that we're redoing. So it's a wonderful thing that's going to really help to fix our infrastructure problem and start to unite some of these cities that are all over the country. Let's also talk about our rupee. So I briefly mentioned this, but May through August was a really difficult time for our currency. The rupee plummeted basically because of fears in the marketplace about the Federal Reserve ending that stimulus program that we have in place to really help businesses grow. This macroeconomic vulnerability made our currency at high risk. There's many other emerging economies that were facing this. Their currency were weakening against the dollar, but it really hit the rupee currency pretty hard. And what did the government do about it? We quickly acted to ensure that we can strengthen our business environment to attract foreign investment, similar to countries like yourself, companies like yourself. We really worked to delay the tapering off of that stimulus program, and we put out a long-term plan and made it very open and aware to everyone to know just what we were going to be doing to help enforce and grow our economy and really attract some of this FDI. So we are on top of it, and we know that now the rupee has stabilized off and it's looking better than ever. Finally, just to recap some of the challenges, there is what I want to call a light at the end of the tunnel. If companies adequately plan maybe for things like a generator when you're going to be creating a company here, just to make sure in case there's a power outage, if you plan, you can really overcome some of these hurdles that we talked about. And again, we are still trying to attract some of this foreign investment, and it's only going to be behooving of you to come now when we're growing and changing and be a part of this. So why is now the time for you to do business in India? Again, I mentioned this affordable, highly skilled labor force. They speak English. This workforce is huge, the second largest in the world, with 486 million workers. This growing middle class is an ideal target audience for you to sell your next product or service to. We have a lot of natural resources here in the area. So agriculture, everything from rice and wheat and cotton and sugarcane, if any of those products go into making your product, then you definitely want to think about getting them here from India. Coal and oil. Oil is about to potentially be deregulated. It's currently state run right now, and we could open that up to foreign direct investment. So that would be a great opportunity for you guys to think about. Forestry and fishing are so just some other wonderful natural resources that India has to offer the market. Let's talk about some of those industries that I briefly mentioned. Everything from textiles, telecommunications, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, films. India has it all. The telecommunication, for example, the world's fastest growing market is here in India. The largest smartphone in the world after the US and China is in India. So all these iPhones that everyone likes, they're buying them here in India. The automotive industry, second fastest growing in the world. We are increasing our domestic sales and our imports. Our domestic sales and our exports, and it's a huge market. So if you are making a car or want to sell your car here in India, it's definitely a market you want to look at. Pharmaceuticals, for example, 60% of the biopharm industry is done here in India. Our sales are expected to reach 48 billion by 2020. So if you're in the pharmaceutical industry, you definitely need to be here in India. Film industry, I mean, Bollywood is all the rage. The largest producer of films in the world is here in India, and that's something that we're very proud of in our culture. So what are some advantages to doing business with India? India is really protecting our investors. We're protecting you. We want you to come and be happy and stay here and integrate this into a long-term strategy in your business. So we're taking drastic steps, and we're hoping to attract, 20 to 40 billion dollars of foreign direct investment. We're really working to ease some of the restrictions and some of making it easier for you to do business with us. So, for example, the Asia Development Bank, it ranked India as the second most favorable destination for FDI in 2012. So again, we're changing a lot of things to make it a lot easier for companies like you to do business with us. Our government's in talks with JP Morgan to perhaps enter the Global Emerging Market Debt Bond Index. That would be something that would help move with leaps and bounds to start attracting some of that foreign direct investment. And there's a couple of different options on ways that you actually want to go ahead and invest your money here in India. You can do a greenfield investment, a wholly owned subsidiary, a joint venture, a limited liability partnership. Maybe you just want to set up an office here, a project office, a branch office, a liaison office. So if you're selling in this whole Southeast Asia corridor and you just want an office here, this would be a definite great option for you to look into. So now you've come to India to do business here. What are some tips to help you be more successful when working in India? So here are some top 5 tips for you to think about. Number 1, value the quality of interpersonal relationships. Don't be too pushy. Don't push things along quickly. Really take the time to develop your relationships with the Indian citizens, and it will be something that will be very helpful for your business in the future. Definitely be aware of the hierarchy, organizational structure. Society and business definitely faces this hierarchy, and you're going to find much better success if you set yourself up in this manner. And decisions are really made at the top of that chain. So all negotiations that you do should be done with that top tier senior management, not necessarily middle management, because you might be wasting some of your time if you try and focus on that middle tier. So time management, kind of be prepared for meetings to maybe start a little bit late, finish late. A couple of interruptions might occur. So, just know that things might get deviated a little bit and not so rigid as you might find in some of your other countries that you do business with, like the United States, maybe, for example. And then last but not least, be very direct and specific in your language. So try not to use lingo that might work in your home country, and clarify everything, because Indian workers really truly tend to take things literally. And finally, I'd just like to wrap up by saying, you truly should invest in Incredible India. And Incredible India is a phrase that has really stuck with India. It's maybe one of our mottos. And some of those key terms that I talked about earlier, you really will find here. So growth. We're seeing unprecedented growth. Now is the time for you to invest in India. stability. We're a fast-growing major economy with a highly skilled workforce. It's very competitive. I mean, we have industries ranging from, like I mentioned, film to biopharmacy. And in this Southeast Asia and in all emerging markets in the world, India is a competitive place for you to be doing business. And finally, robust. I mean, India has everything in place from legal and tax purposes and their government environment to truly help you succeed in this marketplace. So I know you're listening to a lot of different presentations on why you should be investing in a variety of different countries, but I want to make sure that India is top on your list. So thank you so much for listening to me, and us here at the Department of Commerce really, truly appreciate your time. And just a quick note on a few appendices to put this presentation together. There are some websites listed on the end. So thank you again, namaste, and we hope to see you in incredible India soon.